Today I'm in Energylandia. Actually, it's the third day. Energylandia, it's a massive park in Poland, quite recent. It opened just in 2014. And it was meant to be a family park, at some point the most intense coaster was this one, which is like an SLC by Vekoma. It's a weird park. They claim to have 123 attractions. In reality, there are something between 50 and 60. They got 17 coasters, but in few years they're going to be 20, which is a lot. It's called Vekoma Land because everything is made by Vekoma, which is a kind of joke. And it's a kind of strange park. Anyway, it started as a family park. As I said, this SLC by Vekoma was the most intense, but then at some point things got a bit more interesting, like that. And not only that one. So they start going wild. They added like an hypercoaster, this RMC, which is amazing. They got now a water park. It's got a massive expansion plan. Kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But anyway, I'm gonna show you the park, tell you what's on offer, and that is gonna take a while. Tell you what I like of the park, what I didn't like. Give you also some travel tips and tricks. And let you know if this park is worth a visit or not. Let's have a look. Well, as said by lots of reviewers, in a nutshell, Energylandia, it's quantity over quality. 123 or 60 attractions, regardless of how many they are, not all of them are good, far away from that. You will quickly realize that the reason to go to Energylandia, it's 5 coasters out of 20, and the rest, it's a lot of flat rides, water rides, and attractions for kids that probably you're not gonna enjoy. So yes, there are 20 roller coasters, but you will see that just 5 are good. If you look at the jumper they sell, they actually display only 8. I would also remove the boomerang from them. And keep in mind that to make up 20 coasters, you will see kind of those ones, which are probably for fanfare and for kids. So of course, if you're going there for your coaster credits, you're gonna have 20 on top of your list. But this one, for example, yeah, it's a spinning coaster, but it's not really Ride to Happiness, is it? Now, let's see the good ones. Let's start with Hyperion. This is an Intamin hyper coaster. It's actually the tallest one in Europe. The station is really nicely themed. It's an interesting layout. It's not just airtime as a Silver Star in Europa Park, but it's actually got an inversion. It's got lots of twists and interesting elements. It's a pity that the water feature at the end doesn't work, which is clearly a copy and paste from Shambhala in Portaventura. But it's really enjoyable. It goes up to 150 kilometers per hour, which is really good. Then there is Zadra, which is an RMC, kind of unique for 2 reasons. First, we don't have lots of RMCs in Europe, and second one, this one is the only one in the world that was built from scratch, and so is not a refurbishment of an existing wooden coaster. It is insane, super intense, keeps delivering from second one till the end. Is just pure joy, and probably Zadra itself, it's worth a visit. So just if you go to Energylandia just to ride Zadra, I totally understand and support that. Then there is Abyssus, which is the newest coaster in the park, opened in 2021. This is a Vekoma surf coaster with 2 launches. The theming is really, really nice. It's a new area which is called Aqualantis, and the station is amazingly themed. The coaster itself is super fun. It's got inversions, got lots of twists. It keeps going kind of underground, or in theory should be underwater, and it's really fun. The trains are so pretty and nice to look at. The new trains are super comfortable. So this one 100% approved, a really good coaster. Then there is Mayan, which is a Vekoma SLC in standard layout. This coaster has been, as said already, the most intense coaster in the park for a few years. Nothing special, there are lots of SLC around there, but what is new, it's the kind of restraints which are much more comfortable being the vest. Then there is Formula, which was the first launched coaster in the park. This one is a bit weird because it looks like a mix in between Blue Fire and Silver Star in Europa Park, but in a much smaller scale. So the layout is nice. The launch is kind of intense. It's got lots of inversion, interaction. It's also got indoor part. It's kind of fun. Unfortunately, the track is pretty short, so it doesn't last a lot, but it's really an enjoyable coaster, and for a few years has been one of the most popular coasters in the park, therefore is still building up quite of a queue. Then that's it basically, because then there are other coasters like this one, which is a Vekoma family suspended coaster with a dragon, which is, you can do it, but that's it. Then Boomerang Coaster, not one, let's put two of them. One it's in the new area Aqualantis, and the other one it's in the old part of the park. Both of them, yes, you're gonna do them, you're not gonna remember about riding them, they're definitely not worth a visit. Then out of that, to reach out to 20, there is gonna be like an ever-ending list of family coaster, some of them duplicated, which are completely useless unless you are there for your coaster credits. So keep in mind that yes, it's 20, but it's actually 5 roller coasters. Then the offer is completed, or probably I should say incompleted, by a variety of flat rides. Some of them are intense, some others looks more like okay for a funfair. There is a drop tower which is not free fall, so it's not too intense, but still there are some flat rides which are okay for grown-ups. There is also a Zamperla disco coaster, which is always nice and fun to ride, but I think the mention here goes to the top spin, which it's inspired to Talocan in Fantasyland, but ends up looking like Talocan ordered from Wish, because it's really like smaller and kind of pathetic attempt to copy it. In terms of water rides, there is a small version of the standard log flume. Then there is Speed, which is a really interesting water coaster from Intamin, with a kind of scenic tower with a double lift and a massive drop. Then most of the layout is dry up in the air, and at the end there is a massive drop, super wet, with a massive splash. You're gonna get soaked. Then there are other water rides around the park, and in terms of river rapids, not one but 2. And then there are probably 500,000 attractions for kids that I'm not gonna describe, I'm not gonna show you. Feel free to go on the website or to have a look at the map of the park. So tops and flops. Well, top, clearly the 5 coaster I mentioned before. Also really nice, the new area. Now, in a park which is only less than 10 years old, it's weird to talk about old and new areas, but you go through this subway and you end up into the new 3 areas. One is the one of Zadra, the other one is Aqualantis, and the third one is the one in the making, which is gonna be Sweet Valley. Here they really stepped up the game in terms of themed areas. The theming is consistent, is well done. We are close to Fantasyland or Europa Park standards, just to let you know. Even Sweet Valley looks really, really promising, despite not being open yet. The best thing in the park is their locker system. So you buy a wristband that you are gonna use all day long, and it's the cost is around £2. Then on every single coaster, you are obliged to leave all your belongings using the wristband. You don't need to remember the number of the locker, and the locker open on both sides, so you're gonna have them in the exit queue as well to collect your belongings. This is super clever, super efficient, and simplifies a lot the operations in the station, because there is no faffing around with bags and backpacks and all that. Now, I cannot judge the operations, but considering the lockers and those screens which are clearly showing you the boarding procedures and the restraints, how they work and all that, despite I've seen the park working on one train operations only, I can say that everything feels like set for maximum efficiencies. So well done. When I visited, it was Halloween, and it's worth mentioning that the attempt of the park to step up to a European park level in terms of events and shows and everything is clearly there. So it's reasonable to say that they are really trying to elevate themselves to a European park. Here you can see the opening show at the entrance, but then for Halloween they put lots of decorations. There were like probably 2 million pumpkins around the park, real ones by the way. Then they had this street in which all the actors were interacting with the guests and scaring them and running after them and all that. So it was nice. I mean, simple execution, but nice. I liked it. So I'm saying that in the tops there is definitely this kind of general attempt of the park to step up their game and become a credible European theme park all over. Unfortunately, they have tried to put together a parade at the end of the day, and as usual, my recommendation is like leave the parades to Disney. They know what they're doing. Any parade seen in a park which is not Disney kind of look pathetic to my eyes, and I think it's completely useless. So just don't do parades. That's fine. Just leave it. Then another thing that I didn't like is like the old park. So the old areas of the park are not nicely themed, and this it's evident when you visit the new areas, especially Aqualantis, which is a kind of masterpiece. And when you go back to the old part of the park, and you see that back in the days, teaming was not really a priority at all. So it's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of teaming. In the old park, for example, you can find the teaming in the queue line, which is simply made with IKEA furniture. So that gives you a kind of idea. Then another flop is the offering. Now, the offering it's redundant because there are too many coasters, too many family coasters. There are lots of coasters repeated. There are lots of duplications, but there are some massive gaps. For example, there are no dark rides, and also the fact that they are so strictly linked with the coma makes you feel that probably a B&M wing coaster or a B&M inverted coaster would have been a perfect fit in the park. It's also hilarious that most of the coasters are the coma, but the good ones are actually they're not the coma ones. So it's okay, what's going on there? But then, as I said, there are lots of duplication, 2 boomerangs, there are 2 river rapids, there are those things for kids, 3 of them in the park. Do we really need all that? Probably not. The biggest flop and the most disappointing is linked to the ridiculous expansion plan of the park. So they never complete their projects. This is really evident in Aqualantis, where all the theming is missing, and it's a big pity because the area was meant to be really high standard. I said close to Phantasialand theming level, but then they never completed it. So you can see here lots of metal structure where the theming was meant to go, but there is also a grotto expedition, but there is no grotto. They never built it. And it's really disappointing because the area was meant to be good to the extent that even the toilets are themed, which is again, Phantasialand standard, but then you go around and there are so many bits missing, and this is a constant in the park. Even in the oldest areas, they never done what they had in mind in the original project, and I think they got just too much going on. So this is Energylandia, massive park, lots on offer, out of which just few things are really worth a visit, but I still suggest to visit and ride Zadra, right? Now, there is a playlist dedicated to the park in which you're gonna find videos for the single attractions. I'm gonna also do a specific video showing you all the uncompleted projects in Energylandia and some travel tips and tricks. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.